Hello everyone, my name is Boris, bringing you another VOD review. Today I'm doing a VOD review of Darth Nub, who has been on absolute tear on the NA ladder, as we can see, fully just climbing up on LP and currently sitting at rank 3 on NA ladder. I picked a game where we are playing around a Kai'Sa primary carry, as I've been particularly interested in seeing how the top players approach the line, as well as there have been variations where we play around rather the Bruiser core rather than the 4 Juggernauts. We are starting out with the Bruiser pair already. Did pick up a TF, which would have been great in the last patch. However, currently we are probably going to just ditch it the first opportunity, and we do so already. Sitting on the Viego pair, keeping that as an out, and we do pick up a Scion, so we could consider playing around a LeBlanc. If we get something like a tier, then we could slam a Void Staff, or perhaps a tank item. So let's see how we approach it. We also do have a Kog'Maw in shop right away. Drop another Kog'Maw. So we're going to sacrifice our Viego pair as we are not having fielded Viego 2. No Scout no pay, but we don't take. Spells of War either not working. Early learnings are probably going to flip that as well. Scrymy River we could play into something like Little LeBlanc with a Adaptive Slam or Void Staff Slam. However, we're going to opt for a speedy double kill. I assume he believes that he can capitalize on playing around here, and we do get a high roll of a Nico 2 shop, so I'd assume we're going to pick that up. We also get Voiden, so we can check what our Void mods are. We have Spines, Spikes, and Iron Carapace. Therefore, these are the best two Void mods we can play around, and definitely a green light to consider playing a Kai'Sa or perhaps something like Bel'Veth Slayers, but with the speedy double kill, we are most likely going to be playing into the Kai'Sa. Okay, now we're going to field the Nico 2, which very nicely ties in together with the Kog'Maw, and given how contested Swain is of a unit, you sometimes might not even find him on your roll down, and therefore having a Nico around can enable you to have that Arcanist buff for the Kai'Sa, letting her do just that more damage. Going up against the Ishtal Expeditionist, who have a quest to have empty bench, so therefore they're probably looking to lose streak. And we tag in we did aggressively level as well to slot in. And interesting, okay, yeah, we're going to offer to just have the extra defender on our Nico. And with the Gargoyle Slam, she should be very, very strong to keep our Kog'Maw from perhaps killing a few units. I am not particularly a fan of playing around the Kog'Maw, even an upgraded one. He seems a little lacking in the damage department, as we can see here. We're not able to kill a single unit from a very strong Ionia board. For our components, this is another aspect. This comp requires so many rods, therefore something like a speedy double kill, if you're able to hard stabilize on level 8, is very strong. But instead we're going to opt to go for a tier here to complete the full item, as we want that extra tempo to secure as many lives as we can and ensure that we are able to clash out our speedy double kill. There are certain pros, for example like Dish Soap, who are not particularly big fans of this augment, just due to the downside of it being like, you have an item, which is great perhaps for early tempo, however, you are going to be lacking in the power of a gold augment for quite a while, unless you are able to cash it out, and when you do cash it out, it's also generally quite late, as two people in a competitive lobby are probably not going to die in stage 4, it's going to be more around stage 5, which is behind the curve where you would want to hit your units. Therefore, until that point, you're pretty much playing a round 1-2 components worth of value from a gold augment, where a gold augment generally is a bare minimum of 3 components. And the spike you get can help you to get to 9 and perhaps win out. However, it's a little flippy of a game style that certain pros just do not prefer. Now, we are able to pick up Kog'Maw 2 right here, and I end up on the 2 streak. Sadly, we did drop around to the Ionia board, however, afterwards our Nico was able to carry us through to get a double tier drop, and we opted not to complete the Void Staff. We're going to just slam a Visage here. Now we're going to slam the Void Staff as well, so that we can win the fights without the Void Staff, so we're not doing it. We have a Rex player streaking on Rek'Sai probably playing in some form of Slayers. We have the Ionia board with Ionia being Passive Blades, perhaps considering a Yasuo reroll as well. We are going up against another player playing around Ishtal. And now let's see what we get offered in our next augment choice. We will generally be looking for some form of econ or items. Precision is a grace, going to melee comes. Best of friends, decent in AD lobby, however not particularly strong right now. I'm going to construct a champion, well we'll have to pass. I would assume we're going to go for a last second save, which is going to even further buff up our very strong frontline. This comp generally has a very strong frontline, therefore any kind of combo that can either get you extra damage on the Kai'Sa or stall for her longer is going to be very good. Now here we had the player playing around Ishtal, perhaps going into some form of reroll. We have a player playing at a Blanc Scion. Then going to just going around and scouting in the next round. Able to pick up a win here against a Scion player. And so we have managed the tempo quite nicely of that Nico too. So we have a person playing around the Orianna reroll, it seems, with too much value going around with the Bard. We have someone who is probably going for an Asol. We have Ishtal Expeditionist player that we saw, and we have someone who perhaps is considering Orianna, but seems to be looking to play probably into some form of Lysandra board, Lysandra Seraphine. Now, fighting our previous nemesis of the form of the Streaking Ionia player. However, now with the Kog'Maw 2 picked up with double item, and the Nico is just too strong right now with the extra beef up front. The Kog'Maw is finally able to scale, and we're going to unlock a Shelly here as well. Now we would generally look to complete some form of a JG or Gunblade, I would assume. The glove unfortunately got taken, so we might just grab a sword here. Yes, we're going to do that. And with the Kai'Sa change being unlocked on level 7, we might consider pushing. However, we are a little slower on the econ. Going to opt the slots. Okay, we're going to swap out and be able to slot in Piltover. Now we picked up the Piltover mod for the blast shields, which provides us even further beef on the front line. So this is going to be a very, very strong front line. Going up against the person playing for Asol who has rolled down hit their Leona 2. Fortunately, we fight them before the spike and are able to, hopefully, yes, we are able to take them down, complete a 6 streak. Now this is the perfect speedy double kill spot you wish for. You are streaking, you're going to have that HP leverage, and if you're able to stabilize our board on level 8, we should be smooth cruising also to the level 9. I'm going to scout around, particularly we are afraid of this Rek'Sai player. If the Rek'Sai gets in our backline, she can definitely take the Kog'Maw out. However, fortunately we have the long enough front line for her to be dashing around, as she jumps within 3 hexes, and generally that's going to be closer to your tanks if they're there. This would be a 4 hex distance right here, and therefore if she doesn't get the wrap, and with the Nico being placed here, we're safe. If our Nico had been on the middle side and say they were able to take down the tank that's sitting here, then after jumping back here, the Rek'Sai definitely could get on our backline and take the Kog'Maw out. Going to level to 7 here now to unlock the Kai'Sa coming up on here, and I would assume we're going to transition on items immediately, as Kai'Sa 1 is just so much stronger than Kog'Maw 2, and yes, we opt to do so. Now we do get drops of interesting components. I would assume we don't have particularly any slams we could make right away. However, if we are opting to play around potentially an AD Kai'Sa carry and with transitioning to Ziggs duo carry, as we are very much streaking right here and have the HP leverage, and there are a couple of people low. Now on the Augment, Soul Awakening is just extremely strong still as a combat augment, therefore going to default that and just immediately go for it. None of the other options particularly interest us. We have the econ from the streak, and we have the combat power fully. This comp very, very much shines when you have the combat. We also have picked up a Wukong pair, and we also hit immediate Kai'Sa 2. Now this is definitely a light for us to go to level 9. Now, unfortunately, the meta TFT VOD replay does seem to have the downside of sometimes the void units bugging out. Nothing particularly I could do about that. We also positioned to unlock Set. I'm interested in seeing if we consider playing around it. And there's another option that we are not that far from a Volibear. Therefore, if you're able to make some form of a something like a Sterex Gauge, I believe, or a Sunfire, could get us to a Volibear. And this is one of the ways that has been played around more recently, with playing around 4 Bruisers. Particularly, I feel like also Kobuko as a unit is being slept on a little bit. He is very strong, and if you make that cap, yeah, you might not have Zone in the Bruiser version to play around Ziggs, but you would have Yordle, which is a little buff for him. Now for our component, we're just going to grab a tier, and if we complete another Spirit Visage, I believe we should have the HP threshold needed to unlock a Volibear. If we slot in 4 Bruiser, yeah, otherwise we're just a tad short. Unfortunately, the Gargoyles only gives 100 HP. Other ways you could unlock him, I believe even on 2 Bruiser, would be with the Spirit Visage, Bramble, and the Declaw, the classic new build, or any form of Warmogs. However, if you're able to pick up something like a Mundo here, and perhaps another Bruiser, we could do it. Or we can also look to unlock Kobuko on the PvE round by tagging on, we're holding on to Invoker here right now. For perhaps just that opportunity. Okay, never mind, we're just going to sell it right away. I do find this positioning interesting. Yes, we are playing around the Stone Plate. And okay, we're going to opt for this instead. It's trying to maximize the distance the Kai'Sa gets, so we get to get a long shot bonus, and we're playing around 3 long shot as well, since we have the strong Piltover mode, and we're playing around the Nico, as we have not found any Swains. The unit is just so contested in its form, and it's not always guaranteed to provide a stun even when you have it on 1 star. And perhaps that's why you're also considering to hold on to an Ari? Not exactly sure why. We do a slot to go for 6 slot in 4 Bruiser right away now. Going to unlock a Volibear, going to pick up a Kobuko pair as well. But I would assume we're going to sit here before we roll. Now, an interesting item choice to make. We do also opt to pick up a double bow. Going to transition into the Trebuff, sort that form of utility out as well. Going up against a... yeah, this is the list Seraphim player. But I assume they will be playing into Orianna with the too much value. However, it seems that someone has bullied them off. Although I don't see anyone playing Orianna. But one player has died, and there's a couple of people very close to dying. Therefore, we should be able to just push level 9 on 5-5 without any issues. Against an ASOL player. Fortunately, Diana did not jump on our Kai'Sa. Now she's just too slow, and we're able to also switch on her and take her out. Now, can we sustain the extra blast from ASOL? With the Wukong statue, we are, and people have died, so our speedy double kill is going to come in. We're just going to push levels right away. Now, the tricky bit here is that we do want to unlock the Ziggs, therefore we're going to toss the items on the Vi. Now, this is another reason for running Kobuko. You can unlock Ziggs by having the items on Kobuko. And right now we do not have a prominent user. Well, we could have those items on Volibear, but we have the HP lead. We can just sack it. Otherwise, you can do such a thing on a PvE round without any issues. Going to unlock Ziggs here. And we're possibly going to consider transitioning into an AD Kai'Sa here, I would assume. Since the Ziggs wants these AP items, and it's very, very rare that you're going to be getting a double set of AP items. With IE Last Whisper, we have a very strong Kai'Sa secondary carry. And yeah, we're just going to toss a red buff here. It's fine that we don't have exactly Spear of Shojin. As otherwise, we are simply... these are not particularly the items the Volibear would want to use. Going against the Ishtal cash out board, playing around Annie 2 with Invoker Emblem, that's very scary for us. And we do drop around here because of that. However, I believe once we are able to get to the Ziggs 2, we should be able to beat them. Also pick up a Volibear 2, hoping for something like a TG that we could toss onto him. Still haven't found a single Swain. Therefore, this Nico is putting in mileage for us. Going up against the ASOL board, and this is the one of the downsides of having this AD Kai, says that she no longer has the sustain of a form of a Gunblade, so these ASOL splashes are going to take it out. Now we have finally found the Swain, so we're able to ditch the Nico. Going to opt to play Swain 1 over Nico 2, which is also interesting, and I assume it's because we just consider our frontline to be strong enough. And we get the 2 Jug Splash, which, well is done, and simply a Cho'Gath is no issue. Going to see if we roll deep here. Not just going to look for a Ziggs 2, not going to chase any 3 stars, pick up a Hodge here that we can just toss onto the volley. Otherwise, if you're stuck on level 8, you can just toss some AD items on a Volibear, and since the meta heavily rolls around rolling on 8, and we cannot guarantee hitting as fast as Darth Nub usually does. Just did. That's one of the ways you can play out. We drop around to Slayers, but however we have made our way to our top 3 as the Ishtal Expeditions player has dropped around, so we're playing against the ASOL 2 and a very capped GP Slayers board. And we are holding a Belvet here in case they are going for a Belvet 3 out of the pocket, however they do not seem to have any extra copies around. Now I would assume we're going to be struggling against this ASOL board. Yes, we are. Thankfully, it's confirmed that the ASOL is getting B-patched, so hopefully he drops a little bit in the power level. Now, we do pick up our Ziggs 2. Another thing we could consider is perhaps if we hit a Shyvana 2, maybe drop down to a different version. I'm not exactly sure how we could slot in a Shyvana here. Perhaps, well, it should be better than Swain 1, right? But now we are able to clear the GP board now, finally, with thanks to the power of Ziggs 2. Just going to look to see if we can find another volley item. Or we're just going to toss a Vow. We did not have any prominent volley options. Vow to get the Swain casting perhaps faster, or the Volibear casting itself. Yeah, we're going to toss it on the Volibear, as Volibear wants to get to the Stormbringer cast form. This is going to help him. Looking to see how we position. Still trying to maintain the max distance and get the big carries. Also interesting to see how we did the split here. I'm not sure what that's supposed to achieve. However, yeah, the ASOL player has just stacked a little too high for us, but we're able to secure top 2, and we're just going to say thank you, we don't want to play against ASOL, and that's it. Very interesting to see how Darth Nub managed to pilot this game from very high tempo spot, being able to capitalize, did hit very fast no roll down, and then cash out over speedy double kill to make it to level 9. I would like to thank you for watching, and I hope that you learned something just like I did, and I hope to see you in the next one. Have a good one.